Welcome to the Consulting Leaders Podcast, where we talk about the business of consulting. Whether you're looking to grow your practice or learn from the stories of leaders in consulting, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Guillaume Jouvencel, ex-PwC and co-founder of GHA Marketing. Join me as I interview the best consultants in their niche. Let's get on with the show. Whitney, welcome to Consulting Leaders. Happy to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
It's going to be a fun one. So you've built a career turning chaos into clarity for organizations. Although, like I said before this interview, I personally do like a little bit of trouble and therefore chaos. But so what originally pulled you into operations and eventually into starting your own consulting firm?
Sure. So when I first got out of the world of going to school, I went into the sports industry, which is very unique and very different. And I spent a lot of time working in a lot of different departments, whether that was sales, marketing, operations, of course, and you work in minor league sports, you do, tarp pulls and clearing pucks off the ice and the various different things. And so I kind of naturally just gravitated towards operations as a whole because it encapsulated all of those different departments. So as I continued to progress in my career, I focused on operations, just for businesses and different organizations, different industries. I finally just decided one day that I was going to go out and I was going to do my own thing. And so I focused specifically on operations to start my business and to see how I could further benefit the community by giving back my knowledge, expertise to help other people that need help with their operations as well.
I like that. So tell us a bit more about this. What would you say is the problem that you're helping solve right now with WG Business Enterprise?
Sure. So the majority of the things that I see is when you go into an organization, now they're all different. They're all structured differently, set up differently. The teams are all different. But a lot of problems stream from basically not having policies or procedures or organization. So I like to say, we can calm the chaos because essentially you're walking in, and if you were to evaluate different organizations, of course, knowing they're all differently, 95% of the time, it's going to come down to how they're operating, what their workflow is. Are they streamlined? Are they not streamlined? And then what those policies or procedures are and how the team is kind of adapting to them. Or if they don't even have any, the team's not doing anything and it's kind of free for all, free will, just everyone doing their own thing, which is, 95% of the problems when you go into a business.
Oh, do I know. So let's dig a little bit further into this. What's the outcome that you help your clients achieve by going through all this? What's the main key benefits that you help them obtain?
Yeah. So the main thing is when we come in, we want to ultimately leave your business or your company in a much better shape, in much better hands than when you first started. And I say that generically because, again, every business is unique. And as you go through and as we're working with different businesses, we're going to find different problems in everyone. What company A has, company B is not necessarily going to have, or maybe they have part of it. So the ability to go in and uniquely work with someone and give them a more customized plan and outcome is going to put them in a lot better shape. So we like to say that we will leave you in better hands than when we started. And that's our goal, because we want not only the CEO, the president, the founder to be in a better position. We want the entire team, the operations. We want your business to grow. We want you to be successful. And we know that that requires something different in every single company. And so that is our ultimate goal. And what that looks like for each person or each organization or company is going to be different. But it kind of goes to the earlier question of what are your policies? What are your procedures? How is the team operating? What's your bottom line? Where are the expenses? So those are just a few of the areas that we like to kind of evaluate. And we like to make adjustments and put those plans into place so that when we leave, you're well prepared.
Who is it that you're helping? Who is it that you're helping achieve this? Do you have a particular niche? Because I'm asking this, you mentioned, and I think it's very true, that each business is different. At the end of the day, you're going to identify usually the same constraint at the same moment of a journey, but everybody's at a different state of that journey. You might have some tweaks based on the industry, the structure of the company, how it has been like founded and so on. So who is it that you're helping like mainly, and who's your kind of ICP right now?
Yeah, so our main target, we like to say, is small to medium-sized businesses, but we've also worked with a few mom and pop shops and a few companies that are either the founder, they just took over, they created the business or they just took over as the founder or the president of the company, depending on what their status is. And then we also like to work with those small size businesses, whether that is a tech company or that is a project management company. It could be someone in the consulting world. It could be someone that's, like a small mom and pop restaurant. It could be a HVAC or a plumbing company. There's a lot of different ways that someone gets into a business. They could also have taken over a business from, a death in their family, or it's just a family business that they're inheriting and they maybe aren't really, they're 1 foot out, 1 foot in. And so they're kind of exploring like, ooh, do I want to continue to do this? So those are the types of people we really like to help, because we know that your knowledge may be limited. And they're easier to kind of work with in terms of like, hey, help me. I just need help versus working with a founder or president that's like, no, I already know what I'm doing, but not necessarily that they do. Does that make sense?
No, it makes a lot of sense, and that's actually the perfect segue for the next theme I wanted us to tackle in this interview. I think in your particular niche, you're gonna have, it's not just making people solution aware. It's not just about providing value in your niche and saying like, hey, we're here. I think there is a whole, especially for those founders, those business owners who might be like know it all already. There is an education part in what you do, I feel. So how do you market? How do you brand? How do you educate your ICP to make sure that they become problem aware, then solution aware of what you do? Like, hey, if you're like this and like you fit those criteria, you're probably struggling with this right now. Just so you know, this could be fixed, and here is the main benefit of it. Here is how you fix it, solution aware, so that then you can take them down the funnel and be like, hey, maybe we might be able to help. But so how do you orchestrate this whole educational, promotional marketing mix at your company?
Yeah, so the biggest thing is awareness. You're correct. Because if I go into an organization and it's a complete disaster from my view, right? Like, again, the staff doesn't know what to do. There's no organization. Things are kind of chaos and disorganized. That's going to continue to happen after we leave, even if I put the work into play, if they're not willing to continue on and follow that. So as we're putting things into play, so whether that's, hey, we need to look at the bottom line, or we need to evaluate your marketing, or we need to evaluate how the team is communicating. All of those things are definitely instrumental to fixing. But if the team doesn't have buy-in, the leadership doesn't have buy-in, and they understand why that's important, then it's never going to continue. It's going to fall off the radar and go back to the way it was, which isn't going to help the business grow. So part of implementing that is that education piece of, this is why we're doing it. We're not just doing it because we have nothing else to do or we want to do it. We're doing it because of X, Y, and Z. And again, those reasons are going to be different. But for instance, communication. If someone is always going to the owner or the founder to ask a question, well, the owner and founders are never going to be able to grow the business because they're spending all day in the weeds. They're spending all day answering the team's questions or telling the team how to do something when they shouldn't have to answer any questions. They should be out selling or growing or whatever it is that their goals are for the year. And so when we implement these strategies in whatever department that they're in, there's a reason that they're coming into play, and they're tried and true and tested over and over again. And maybe we have to make slight adjustments and tweaks, but those are things that are educational opportunities for the team as a whole. You need leadership buy-in, but if the main group of employees or team members aren't going to follow through or don't understand why it's important to their success, you're not going to get very far, because again, it's just going to go back down the rabbit hole that it started with, because they're going to stop doing it.
So I love this. What has worked for you in terms of like actual endeavor, actual marketing efforts to provide this awareness, to provide this education, to make sure that you get in front of the right people and you attract the right eyeballs? What has worked for you?
Yeah, so I think a lot of times it's a meeting with the team, right? So maybe coming in, doing an assessment, kind of reviewing what we found, sharing with the owner, the founder, whoever's our point of contact, and then kind of making a plan. So we make a plan essentially, and this is a little bit off of your question, but we make a plan as to where we need to start our attack. And as we're working through those, it's making sure that we integrate in team meetings, communication plans, documents that we can share. And those are what can be utilized for the team moving forward. We'll also have those policies and procedures that I mentioned early on, because they'll be able to use that as their reference point. So really it is just part of our natural operations for our business here at WGBE to just incorporate those things automatically with the team and make sure that they understand what these adjustments are and where they're coming from. So we don't necessarily go out ourselves and market like, hey, we're going to be doing this, but it's part of our services because that's such an essential part of how we do our work and how we make sure that you as a client are completely satisfied when we leave.
It's interesting because it answers a question I wanted to ask further down the line around retention. And how do you, so that's great. How do you, keep yourself accountable, but also remind the clients of the results that you're obtaining, making sure that they stay engaged and potentially stay with you, and how you retain clients. So that's great. How do you get there though? So let's forget about the marketing aspect of things, because I understand that you just do the work, and promoting that work could be in itself marketing with your existing clients. How do you walk us through the sales motion? How do you get into an actual scope of work, letter of engagement? Like, can you walk us through the sales motion of how you're going to be able to get in? Hey, here is the communication plan. Here is the meetings. Here are the deliverables. Here is what we're going to do. Hey, here is where we were 6 months ago, and here is where we are now, right? How do you get there? What does your sales motion look like, Whitney?
Yeah, so for us, a lot of it is just word of mouth or referrals. So we also do have a lot of content. We also like to share a lot of free resources for those that maybe can't necessarily afford, services, or they're not sure where to get started. So we also offer a business assessment on our website where they fill out a basic questionnaire. They can meet with me directly for 30 minutes. We can review, we can go over some things that, I can provide, or areas that I can identify right away just from how they've answered the questions. So from there, we also offer those free consultation calls, and we like to get in with the company. And then we will work with about 2 to 3 hours. We will work with the founder, the owner, whoever our point of contact is, because it could just be like the VP of something. We will work with the founder or this person for 2 to 3 hours, and then start trying to get integrated into the business. So we like to get hands in, knees deep, as they say, to try to really understand what's going on. So in one of my current clients, that was interviewing every single person on the team, so I would spend 30 minutes with every person on the team, regardless of their position or their department, to understand and get answers to specific questions, which is then the target to identifying where there's lacking, or to also see where the consistencies exist within the business, or where there's a lack of consistency. If 10 team members tell me the same thing, or the 10 general ideas, then, that's either positive or negative. So we like to kind of walk through the sales process in a way that we're kind of hand-holding, but then we also like to take kind of that onus off of that person that is our point of contact, so that we can really get a third-party external view of what's going on at the company, without having that bias that may appear with being in the organization or working for the organization. So our sales process is kind of streamlined in that sense, where we will give you resources and help you from the outset. But then as we dig in, if you want to continue working with us, we can kind of jump both feet in and really get down and be that third party voice that has no skin in the game. And we will give you an honest assessment as to where you are.
I love this. So I think this is such I'm huge about lead magnets, and I meet so much resistance because so many people tell me, "Oh, we are in 2026 now. Lead magnets don't work anymore." And I'm like, no. Lead magnets absolutely work. Bad lead magnets don't work. That is for sure. Tell us a bit more about how you came up with the free business assessment. I'm on the website right now. I see the many questions, which is for me great because that's going to enable qualification, but also to actually provide value. How did you come up with that idea of the lead magnets? How is it working for you? And how have you set it up so that it actually brings value to the person who uses it, but also acts as a real part of your funnel to move the needle forward? Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, so all of our, for the most part, besides the business assessment, all of our lead magnets that are all on our website, or I won't necessarily call them lead magnets, they're free resources that we offer, are beneficial to whoever's using them, whether that's the moving checklist, that's how to create your SMART goals. We have a handful, and we also have a handful in the works right now, and they're all different. Like some of them are checklists, some of them are what should you evaluate in your business each quarter? Some of them are fill in the blanks to help you create your goals. So these are documents that are created and valuable to anyone, again, whether you're a client of ours or not, that you can utilize to help you in your business operations. Because at the end of the day, that's what we're here for. We want people to be in a better position than they are now. So those documents have all been created. They're on the website. And as we continue to roll these out, like I said, I think we have 3 or 4 in the works now. Those will be added as well. Those are opportunities for people to go on and grab them and use them. And that's what we want. So those are there. The business assessment came about as I was trying to evaluate what's the best way to get an understanding of what people might be looking for, right? So you can book time with me on my calendar and we can sit down and we can have a chat. But I've also found that people that'll meet with me aren't really sure where to start or what to talk about. So those business assessment questions, while it's not like, hey, I'm going to submit this business assessment and I'm going to get a results back, I'm not going to get a percentage score back. It tells me enough to be able to ask the appropriate questions and to really dig in and diagnose where you're at. And if you even need our help, I mean, maybe you're doing great and you don't really need our help and you're not really sure, but those questions give the person that's filling it out a chance to actually think through what they're trying to answer. It helps them understand, oh, maybe I've never thought about that in my company. And then 3, it gives me the ability to see where they're at and how I can adjust my conversation with them so that they're also getting the most benefit out of it, because no one wants to spend 30 minutes meeting with someone to be like, oh, well, that was a waste of my time. We don't want that. We want it to be valuable. So even if you decide not to do business with us, you're going to have enough knowledge, at least from our initial conversation and from filling out the form, to understand, oh, maybe this is a weakness in our organization, or maybe we're doing awesome at this and we need to continue it.
Okay, so this is pure gold. So I want to double down on this because I think this is going to be extremely valuable for B2B coaches and consultants listening to us right now who are not kind of sure how to, if it's even worth to build and advertise a lead magnet, let alone how to come up with it and how to structure it. So I'll say this. When you think about building a lead magnet, you need to be crystal clear on a few things. First of all, you need to be crystal clear on your ICP, on who is it that you're addressing this lead magnet to. Basically, you want to be as precise as possible. And then whenever a person like this sees a lead magnet, they're like, okay, Whitney, Guillaume went all the way to just provide something just for me because this feels like it has been made for me. If you manage to do exactly that, you will get leads. So make it perceived as highly valuable with a great hook and a great title. You're selling a lead magnet. Although it's free, you're getting contact information in exchange for it. Then make it actually as valuable as possible. Anybody can come up with a 40 pages ebook with ChatGPT now. Make it actually valuable. to the point that it almost gives away the playbook. Like, hey, if you're struggling with this, here is the next step that you can take in order to solve that problem. Don't give the whole playbook, but at least give a few steps. Like, reinforce the behavior of following your advice, because further down the line, when you're going to go for the sale, this is where it's going to be effective. And then put it in front of as many people as possible, but make it highly valuable, and then make sure your avatar sees it as something very valuable. Tell us a bit more about what happens downstream. So you already answered about the retention, Whitney. How do you farm? How do you transform one engagement into another and another and another with existing clients? Back to what you said at the very beginning, which I love, because the mission and the vision is clear. You want to leave the company in a better shape than it was when you arrived. But then how do you farm? How do you re-engage with existing clients? Is that something you're thinking about in your business? How do you do that?
Yeah. So once we're kind of done, or we've wrapped up, or whatever that is, depending on the scope of work, there's a few options. So we also offer fractional position, so services. So whether that's fractional chief of staff, fractional COO, fractional project manager. So we can continue on in a model that fits within the company, like a retainer model, and servicing X amount of hours per month or per week, depending on what's beneficial. And these are all things that we would discuss with the client before we kind of depart, as I like to say. We will continue on in some fractional positions, so we can continue to maintain the SOPs, or to maintain the staff, or to make sure things are still streamlined. So that is one avenue. We will also give them the ability to the services are wrapped up, so I don't want to say end the services with us, but end. And then we'll circle back with them in 3 to 5 months and say, hey, how's it going? Is it working? I actually was working with a client that ended at the end of, now 2024. And last year, so back in September, she reached back out and said, hey, we need more help. Our operational policies have kind of streamed a little far from where you left them, right? So now I've kind of re-engaged to try to help edit and get those back up to speed of where they were when I left. Because again, as people turn over and things change, and everything that happens in a business evolves, those things have to be kept updated, and sometimes they don't necessarily have the staff. So we've re-engaged in that kind of clientele. So there's a few options. The other option is that we can also just remain on a retainer for if there's any question. Someone says, hey, I just need to pick your brain for an hour or something like that. That is another option that we offer, because we want to continue in those spaces. Our goal is not just to come in and do a project and be done, right? We want to continue the longevity, because the longer that we're with you and you're with us, the longer and stronger that partnership becomes. So we really want to continue that space, working in that space together. And we know that may change. We may know that you come in and we're working 100 hours for you in a month. And we may know that 6 months from now, when we get everything organized, 100 hours may not be realistic. So we do try to make that adjustment, but we always want to offer a solution for a partner, for someone to partner with if they're looking for that long-term, plan.
I think that's such an important reminder that sometimes when the job is done, it's done. It doesn't mean that you're never going to work with the client again. It's just that you don't always need to optimize for recurring business, but more reoccurring business. You're done with the project, the client is happy, and it's like going to the restaurants, finishing a steak, and having the waiter proposing you another steak, right? It's not that the steak was bad, it's just that you're done, you're full. I think what you just highlighted here, Whitney, is so important, because you have built good faith, goodwill with the client and delivered exceptional work, and I might come back. And this is exactly what happened 1 year later, because the company is growing and they need a new solution. What's a little bit of a curveball for you, Whitney? What's one thing that you're feeling challenged by right now? What's the one nut that you're trying to crack? And if you do so, you're going to be able to take the whole business to the next level. Can you share that with us?
Yeah. So, and it's ironic enough that I made that my goal for 2026 is all about growth, right? So a lot of I'm probably not the only one that has this issue right now. But what experiencing a lot in the consulting industry, especially where I'm at, is that we're trying to go out and get new leads and we're trying to grow our business and work with more companies, but they're so financially strapped and so have so many external environmental impacts that it's a real struggle. It is a real problem. I was just having this conversation earlier this week with someone else about how everyone is very gung-ho about like, oh, we want to support, small businesses, but at the end of the day, they're still going to those chain restaurants. And I was just talking with someone, like I said earlier this week, about how 2 restaurants in my local neighborhood closed. But they're small businesses, they're mom and pops, they're strapped so financially that they just can't afford to keep the business afloat. And that really impacts someone, like myself and my company, because again, we can't do the work for free, but we also understand that there's a lot of external factors that influence someone's business and their operations. And whether that is you took over a business because someone passed away, or you want to start up a business, but you need a job, like there are so many different factors that influence. It also kind of restricts the growth, right? So you might want to do something and you can't feasibly, which is again why we offer those free resources. But we also do want to work with people that understand that you're going to invest in your business right now and that in a year down the road, that's going to come back twofold. So it's kind of a win-win, lose-lose situation for us, because while we do want to work with people, we're also in that realm right now with just the way the environment is and the economy that it's a struggle to grow. And I don't know that's just necessarily my business, but in the consulting world in general, because people are having to make that decision of keeping their doors open and cutting back staff, or do they invest in the business and hope that it doesn't collapse and now they're out of money? So it's a real struggle out there. And I think for me, that's been the focus, and that'll be the focus for 2026. My goal is growth. That's growth for myself. That's growth for my team, my clients. So really the focus is on how do we get more clients? How do we help more businesses? How do our clients become more successful? How do they grow? So in general, that is kind of my theme or my word of the year, is growth. And that focus hopefully will take us to that next level and kind of get us past that point where we're at now.
I like this a lot. And I think at the end of the day, so you're very right. That's going to be, actually, you know what? I'm going to rephrase this. I think 85% of the B2B coaches and consultants that I talk to want to grow. I was going to say this is something everybody wants, right? Growth, but that's actually not entirely true. There are some people who are happy where they are. And if that's you listening to us right now, congratulations, you've won. And this is amazing. Like if you're happy with the stage at which your company is at right now, that's absolutely fantastic. For the ones who want to grow, so the majority of this audience, Whitney, can you give us a bit your thoughts around how you're going to achieve that? The reason I'm asking is my personal take is that the people who are going to win, the B2B coaches and consultants who are going to win in 2026 are the ones who are able to initiate new conversations with their ICP, but most importantly, establish trust and authority in a way that has never been seen before. Anybody can claim anything on internet nowadays. Anybody, I mean, I see so many experts, quote unquote experts, on LinkedIn, just putting up some content from ChatGPT. So can you give us a bit your thoughts around how you're going to achieve that growth, how you're thinking about it? I know you haven't solved it yet, that's the whole point, but like for the people listening to us who are at the same stage as you, how are you thinking about solving for this growth in 2026?
Yeah. So earlier this year, I had hired a company actually, because it's always good to hire someone else, to kind of do a full audit. So when they did the audit, it wasn't on my business. It was more on my website and my competitors and how I can differentiate myself. And what came out of that, and I don't think I had ever really realized it, was that I built my business myself. I built it on genuine compassion and help and love and support to clients. And one of the questions I ask if I'm ever interviewing anyone to join my team or to, for an intern is, what is their use or their thoughts on AI? I am not a believer in AI. I know that people listening may say, well, you better get with it or you're going to be left behind. But I will say that with warning. because I have built my business on me personally and on genuine human connection. And I think with Chat GPT and AI and all these other things and social media, people are so far down the rabbit hole of whatever that looks like in their life that they're craving that genuine connection. With so many people working from remote, they just, they want to be with people. They want to have that interaction. So I built my business on genuine human contact and touch. You're not going to get a computer system from me. I mean, I may help you implement a software that's important and useful, but you're not going to join us as a client and then be working with, one of my interns or some random person that I hire, because I've built those connections. And part of my growth is on how do we differentiate ourselves between AI? How do we differentiate ourselves between our competitors or between these large scale companies? Yes, they might have 87 resources they can offer you, but then you're just getting 87 different directions, right? Like you don't know what you're getting. So you're getting real me and real humans and people that actually care about your business. And you're not just another client to us. And I think that's kind of what I'm using in terms of my mindset and my framework of, we're not just going to type something into Chat GPT. In fact, I don't even allow my team to use that. Every blog that we've put out, every resource we've created, every case study that we've worked on, those are all things that we generally ourselves wrote. We spent the time, we wrote the outlines, we wrote the content. And so we're going to focus on that and we're going to use that. And I would encourage anybody, if you can find out what your competitors are doing or people in the similar space as you and compare yourself and see where their quote unquote weaknesses are, you're going to put yourself a little bit ahead of everyone else, because you're going to find people that want to work with you and don't want to just type it into Chat GPT or an AI or whatever that looks like. And you're going to be able to kind of pride yourself and brand yourself and market yourself on that.
This is such an interesting take. So I'm huge on human interaction. I mean, we live and breathe a podcast, basically. I was going to say Spotify. I'm not affiliated with Spotify, although if Spotify want to sponsor this podcast, you know where to find us. But I couldn't agree more with you in the sense of genuine human connection. And it's so interesting. I think AI is going to enable certain things, is already, right, enabling certain things. But at the end of the day, people buy from people, not from companies. And I'm hearing more and more AI automated agents when I call companies on the phone. And it is so painful. It is so painful. And I don't see how that, I see how that reduces cost for sure. But that's the customer experience is absolutely awful. So yeah, it's a very interesting take and very interesting perspective on 2026 with me. And thank you so much for coming on Consulting Leaders. If people want to find out more about you and what you do, where should they go?
Yeah, you can check out my website, wgbusinessenterprises.com. I always welcome people to connect with me on LinkedIn as well. I love networking and just connecting with others. I love to learn more about you and see how we can help you, or just chat and learn more about what you're looking for. Or you can also check out any of our social media or our YouTube channel.
We'll put all the links in the description. For what I'm concerned, I can say that you've got at least one new connection on LinkedIn out of this interview with me. I just added you. Thank you so much for coming on Consulting Leaders.
Perfect. It was great meeting you, and I appreciate everyone spending the time to listen today.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Consulting Leaders Podcast. We hope you learned valuable lessons on how to grow your practice and take your business to the next level. Make sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you're listening to this show so you never miss an episode. To apply and be a guest on the show, click the link in the description. See you next time.